Empathy is often categorized as the ultimate social good, the psychological opposite of malevolence. We tend to assume that if someone can intimately feel another person's pain, they are incapable of intentionally inflicting it. In 2020, a study conducted by researchers at Nottingham Trent University tested this assumption by surveying nearly 1,000 participants using a battery of dark trait and empathy scales. This chart shows the distribution of personality profiles from that study. The blue bar represents a specific cohort that makes up 19.3% of the sample population. These individuals score high in dark traits, yet they also possess high levels of empathic capacity. While a traditional psychopath often lacks the neurological hardware to process complex social cues, these dark empaths utilize refined emotional awareness to navigate and influence their environments. This suggests that the capacity to comprehend another person's emotional landscape can exist independently of the moral drive to protect it. This happens because empathy operates as a dual process system. First, there is cognitive empathy, the intellectual ability to read another person's mental state, simulate their viewpoint, and identify their emotions. Then there is affective empathy, which involves actually sharing those feelings. For the dark empath, cognitive information is processed clearly, but the affective resonance is suppressed or missing. This allows them to read vulnerabilities without feeling the emotional distress that usually prevents harmful behavior. In the early stages of contact, they use this cognitive data to execute intense mirroring, often referred to as love bombing. They study a target's history and needs, reflecting back an ideal version of connection to build a rapid sense of intimacy. This manufactured intimacy is designed to bypass a person's natural social defenses and healthy skepticism. The dark empath treats trust as an investigative tool, utilizing this initial phase of closeness to map a target's specific psychological frailties. This diagram shows the mechanics of vulnerability mining. Once the initial defenses are bypassed, the process moves directly into the extraction phase, where insights are gathered specifically for future control. Past traumas, deep-seated insecurities, and unmet needs are recorded and stored as actionable intelligence. In intimate settings, the dark empath often adopts the role of a false protector. When a partner tries to set a healthy boundary, the empath weaponizes that previously shared trauma, pathologizing the victim's independence and framing their own control as a form of caring concern. This sophisticated approach to strategic emotional intelligence is often highly rewarded in corporate environments that prioritize performance and political maneuvering. Research conducted by Dr. Jane Hyde identifies a common tactic in these settings called disingenuous manipulation. This involves feigning concern, offering false flattery, or using hypocrisy to ensure a colleague complies with the manipulator's hidden goals. Dr. Hyde's data also indicates that malevolent traits react aggressively to socially cohesive teams. Because these individuals prioritize autonomous power, a supportive team structure is perceived as a threat to their leverage, prompting them to fracture group trust to maintain control. Whether in a relationship or a workplace, the dark empath turns the vulnerabilities freely shared in moments of trust into instruments of subjugation. Dark empaths are cultural chameleons who adapt to established norms rather than fighting them, using a society's stated values to hide their relational aggression. In Australia, they exploit the tall poppy syndrome, the cultural reflex to criticize those who stand out. They use passive-aggressive humor to recruit the social group into undermining an achiever, framing their sabotage as a defense of egalitarian values. In the United Kingdom, they weaponize the decorum of the stiff upper lip. By delivering insults with extreme politeness, they ensure that if the victim reacts with anger, the victim is the one seen as the unstable aggressor for making a scene. In the United States, this often manifests as shadow empathy. Leaders read the raw insecurities of a demographic and validate their most cynical grievances to build intense personal loyalty. The most effective camouflage for this behavior is making the abuse indistinguishable from a culture's highest stated values. Traditional conflict resolution strategies, which rely on mutual vulnerability, are ineffective here. Sharing feelings simply provides the dark empath with more emotional data to weaponize. The primary defense is strict information protection. By limiting the disclosure of personal fears and historical vulnerabilities, you remove the raw materials they need to build manipulative leverage. In unavoidable interactions, experts suggest the gray rock method. You make yourself as emotionally unengaging and unresponsive as possible, giving brief, neutral answers to starve the manipulator of the dramatic reactivity they require. Because sustained empathic gaslighting can distort a person's sense of self, reality checking with outside professionals is often necessary to rebuild trust in one's own perceptions. Fictional archetypes provide a safe way to recognize these behaviors. Patricia Highsmith's character, Tom Ripley, embodies this profile. He meticulously studies his targets to adopt their desires, reflecting them back while remaining completely emotionally empty. Understanding the dark empath requires us to differentiate between the empathy that seeks to heal and the empathy calculated solely to conquer.